So guys, I'm really sad. I had this lovely plan for a full garden tour coming up soon here, and we literally just had a tornado come through and it took out a lot of my garden. Look at that trellis, it's bending in half. Several of the tomato plants are literally snapped in half over, and my sunflowers are snapped. I don't know what the damage is going to be, but I'm just super sad. I just got inside and see the storm took out several of my sunflower limbs, so I don't think there's any saving these, but they'll definitely make some nice arrangements for the table. So here we are, kind of just walking up on it. You can see that everything is just really in full growth and in full bloom, just really green. I have had some issues with fungal diseases and blight and stuff like that, just because we've had so much rain and it's been so hot. But yeah, I guess that's pretty normal here in this area of Tennessee in the south. So here's my cucumbers. We're actually going to probably harvest some cucumbers this morning. They're doing really well. I planted it's like a compact bush champion variety of cucumbers, and there's probably about 6 or 7 plants that I planted on here, and I have 2 kind of sets of trellises like this, and they've been doing amazing. I've had nonstop cucumbers for probably about 6 weeks now, and I've canned relish and pickles and refrigerator pickles, and I've made cucumber salads and just a whole bunch of stuff. So this has been super productive for me, and I'm super pleased with it. Next time I probably plant more. But you see we have a really big cucumber here. I've been letting this guy go. I'm curious how big it will get, and it's super straight because it's hanging on the trellis. And we're just gonna snap that guy off. I don't know if I can do it with one hand. I'm gonna put you guys down for a second. All right, there we go. See that cucumber? That's absolutely beautiful. I actually don't see any more that I can harvest right now on this set of trellises. I noticed since we've had so much rain, this plant on this side actually has been plagued with slugs. And I've had that issue several times now with all the wetness and the humidity. Wow, you need to be tied up. You see the growth on this? I don't know what I'm gonna do with all this because I don't have no more to tie it up to. But I don't know, I'll figure something out. I don't see any more that can be harvested on this. And see, like I noticed too, like when it rains this much, that was a cucumber. It kind of died back and it got all moldy and nasty just from all the humidity and the rain. Some beautiful zinnias out. Super gorgeous. And y'all are gonna laugh. You see this crazy bean plant that I've been talking about forever that I keep saying, I don't know what's wrong with my bean plant. It's huge. It doesn't have female flowers on it and this and that. It hasn't produced beans. Well, the joke's on me. It's actually a pumpkin plant. I don't even know how that happened because I actually planted it from seed from the bag that I bought and it said beans on it. Heirloom yellow wax beans. But look, these are pumpkins. So I won't have to plant any more pumpkins this year. That's super cool because I was actually kind of behind on it. So I'm happy about that. But joke's on me, right? You can see there's several fruits throwing on here. There's one there throwing. I have no idea what variety of pumpkin it is, but they're getting large rather fast. Look at this one in here. Hopefully I won't get stung by this bee. But there's one in here too. It's just absolutely huge. Let's see. It's right in here. Can y'all see that? It's a friggin' pumpkin. So I have to figure out what I'm gonna do with this because I obviously did not plan this. And you can see pumpkins, they put out these tendrils, you know, and if it actually had dirt here and this came in contact with this would actually take root and make a whole nother plant, which I don't really want to do that because here is my potato patch that many of y'all probably saw in a previous video. I planted store-bought potatoes just to have fun. I had them laying around the house and they had eyes on them. And look, we actually have a little tiny potato sprout coming up. And I think this is actually from one of the russets that I planted here. I planted these russets in these fingerlings. And so that's cool. Here you've got another beautiful zinnia. This was all destroyed last night. It was super sad. This zinnia was pretty much lifted up from the roots. Everything that was tall was lifted up from the roots and I had to literally push it back in without trying to snap these long stems because these are gigantic cutting zinnias, and kind of dig it back in and cover it back up. So hopefully everything will make it through this. One thing I have learned in the garden is expect to plant things deeper than you planned on planting them. Here's another set of trellises of cucumbers. There's about 6 or 7 of those same compact bush cucumbers planted on here. And here's another huge cucumber that I need to harvest. Pretty decent sized cucumber. Definitely be saving the seeds from the larger, more mature cucumbers on these plants so I can have some cucumbers from this variety next year. I'm not sure if it's a hybrid or not, and if the plant will change, but they've definitely done me good. They've been pretty disease resistant for the most part, and I'm super happy with this variety. It looks like we've got several more huge cucumbers inside of these plants. Sometimes they are kind of hard to get to. You kind of have to move everything. Wow, look at that sucker. I'm gonna go on and pick that guy, and it looks like there's another one in there too. I have to show you guys this before I pick it off the vine. Look at this cucumber. This is definitely my price cucumber. This is the biggest cucumber so far. Normally I don't let them go this big because I like to keep them small. You know, they're more tender, they're more sweet, they're easier to cut and to can and pickle and stuff like that. But I kind of wanted to just have some prize cucumbers for slicers. And so, wow, just look at that thing. Super pleased. This is a compact plant. This is just amazing. So it looks like that is probably pretty much it for all the cucumbers off these plants this morning. So that's a pretty good harvest of cucumbers. I should have brought a basket out here. I'm not going to be able to carry all these around. I'm just going to leave those cucumbers right there and hopefully I won't forget about them. So here are my sunflowers that I planted, and I'm quite pleased with these. Y'all probably saw some in the vase, and I don't know if you can see how tall the tallest one is above my head. I think it's probably about 8 feet, which is super cool. But yeah, super sad. Several branches broke off these last night, but I was able to save them. And the story behind these variety of sunflowers is they're actually an evening sun sunflower variety. And you can see that they actually put off more than one flower per stalk, unlike a lot of the mammoth sunflower varieties. So off of this one stalk, there's like, and this one already went to seed, so I'm waiting for this one to make seeds so I can save the seeds for next year. But there's like 6 or 7 sunflowers off of this one stalk, and same off of this one. But the story behind this variety of sunflowers that I have is that my husband and I, we got married in October of 2017, actually the day before my birthday. And we bought a bunch of these seeds from Harris Seed Company out of New York for gifts for our wedding. And so I have a whole bunch of them still. So I've been planting them and I'm super pleased with them. They're super beautiful. Y'all can see a lot of them have like this orange hint to these flowers, and some of them are more of a bright yellow, but they're so beautiful and they definitely make good cutting sunflowers. Was able to save them last night. They were all down all the way over here over these zucchini squash that I planted a couple of days ago, and so I just used stakes to kind of support them up, and hopefully they should be fine. Now I literally just planted these a couple days ago before the storm hit, and they look like they made it through, which I'm super happy about that. But this is actually the only thing that I have in my garden that I didn't start from seed myself, that I actually purchased. And you can see they're a Bonnie, they're a zucchini squash, they're an heirloom black beauty. I've never planted these before, so we'll see how they go. But they look like they're doing pretty good. I actually just put this garden in, like I said, a couple of days ago. It's about 4.5, more towards the 5 foot side width by 7 feet long. And so my plan is to plant some either spinach and lettuce or some broccoli in here. And these zucchinis will kind of provide some shade to those green leafy vegetables. And we'll come over here to the Creole tomatoes that I have. Looks like one might actually be ready to pick. I've been having more trouble this year than I'd like to admit with the tomatoes, just because it's been so hot and humid and the weather has just been sporadic and crazy. You can see these plants are definitely suffering some fungal diseases. There's supposed to be a variety that's great for humid, hot environments, but they still do have some disease here outside. So I think that's normal to be expected. But they do have several really good sized fruits set on them. You can see that. They're not huge. I think they're like a medium-sized tomato. I picked them up from a friend from church. I was super happy about that. But there's several fruits that are set. That one looks like it's ripe. Actually might pick it. Yeah, I'm gonna pick it because it's already cracked, which is super sad. So when it rains like this, like crazy, a lot of times your fruit will crack. And so if you can pick your tomatoes before heavy rain, even if they're a little underripe, that is ideal to prevent this from happening. But yeah, there's several fruits set on these. These were all literally torn down yesterday and ripped down pretty much up from the roots, and I had to put these guys back in and tie them all up, so I think they'll be okay. It looks like this guy set some flowers this morning, so we'll be okay. And then I have some spaces here in the garden on both sides of these Creole tomatoes. So I actually started some black cream tomatoes from seed inside, and they're doing really well. So hopefully I'll put maybe 2 or 3 of those plants here. And then I also have some lemon cucumbers, some heirloom lemon cucumbers that I'm probably going to directly sow in here when it stops raining like crazy, so the seeds don't get rained away on this part of the fencing. And then here's the beefsteak tomatoes that are doing good. Pretty much all the tomatoes on this other side of the garden are pretty much done with. I haven't bothered pulling them out, but I'll show you guys in a second just how sad they are. But yeah, these are looking really good. This one is absolutely huge. It's got tons of flowers set on all of these, and these are all whacked down too. I tied all of these up last night, so I think they'll be okay. They have had some, you know, like fungal stuff on the lower leaves, but I've just been slowly pruning them out. They've got some fruit set on them, which I'm pleased. I kind of just got a late start on planting them. They were started very early inside, but the time to maturation doesn't really start until you actually get them transplanted in the garden. So that one's looking good. These are a hybrid type of beefsteak. I don't know about saving seeds from these because, like I said, it seems like the other ones on the other side have been suffering from disease. So I probably don't know if I'm going to go on and save seeds from these, but I'll definitely be happy to get some tomatoes from these. There's another one. You can tell they're a beefsteak variety just by the way that they're growing, the shape of them. You see the ridges on them. But yeah, make some salsa or sauce out of them or something like that. I'll put our cracked Creole tomato with the cucumbers. That's actually only the third one of the season so far. More zinnias that are about to bloom. This looks like it's probably going to be a hot pink one. And here's that bean plant that I thought that wasn't going to make it because I actually had it, I directly sowed it in here with this other bean plant that I thought was a wax bean, and obviously it isn't. Oh, do y'all see those squash bugs? And that's another thing. This plant has been plagued with squash bugs, and I didn't know it was a pumpkin, but now I know better because there's been squash bugs on it. So I'm just gonna kill those suckers. Oh, that's so gross. Oh my gosh, look at all of them. And there's some spider mites. I just want to show y'all, literally be vulnerable here. My garden is suffering from pests just because it's been so wet and I haven't been able to get here and put diatomaceous earth or spray neem oil. So this is what happens. So you know, there's a spider mite and that's a squash bug. Here is that heirloom green bean. It's a bush bean. It's called a provider. And it looks like it's going to make a retrieval. So I'm really excited about that. Hopefully I'll have some beans. Actually, I'll probably direct sow some beans in succession somewhere here in the garden for kind of like a late summer fall crop of beans. And here's some more zinnias. And this looks like it's going to be another hot pink one. Under here, actually directly sowed some basil underneath my beefsteak tomatoes. So it looks like this is ready to harvest. So I'm going to harvest some, and the way you harvest basil to make them bush is you see kind of how it has like a bunch that kind of comes up and then it goes down and bunches out again. You literally just go all the way down to the bunch and you just kind of pluck it off. And if you do that for all of these like little bunches, your plant will bush out. And this is just some sweet basil. And I'll probably leave it at that. Not a super lot of basil over here. I've got a bunch of basil on my back porch and over by my kale that's pretty much petered out that I need to pull out. But a little bit of basil that we harvested. Oh, I almost forgot about this cucumber over here. Oh, I end up just putting cucumbers everywhere. My son loves them so much. So I'll just add that to our pile with our basil and our huge cucumber and our tomato. Here is another sunflower. This is the same variety. It's making a little flower head right here. And then I'm trying to think, oh, over by these potatoes, before we go on to the watermelons and the squashes, there are some chives in here. These are garlic chives. They are perennials. I planted these kind of in here in that area that I showed y'all that I had a little extra space next to these store-bought potatoes. And this is kind of just an open space back here that I pretty much throw all my food scraps and compost. The soil is just completely rich. So I'm thinking probably about putting some Russian kale back here. I have seeds for those. And then also this is that soil that I was working on. I still haven't done the kiddie pool project, but I'm definitely going to do that and use a raised bed and maybe plant some carrots in there or something. I don't know, we'll see. So now I'm going to go over to the area where I have my big walk under arbor and my watermelons and my Silverline heirloom melons and my rosemary. And I actually have a bunch of eggplants. They're shooting star eggplants and some peppers that have germinated. So I have to figure out where I'm going to put those, a spot for those. But yeah, so here's that beautiful arbor that I was so excited to show you all about and walk under. It bent completely, totally in half. I tried bending it back last night, but I don't think I'm going to be able to bend it back. I might just have to figure out how to support it. You can see the damage that the tornado did. It just bent it in half. And this is not from the weight of the squash. This is really heavy grade horse fencing, and it was just held up just fine by this. It was literally going all the way over to the other side of these raised beds that I made out of my old horse water troughs and this fencing. So I'm not happy about this, but what can you do, right? So this is my heirloom spaghetti squash, and I've got several fruit that are setting on this. This one looks like it's probably ready to pick soon, and the way you tell is by you put your finger in it, and if it doesn't indent in, if it's really hard, it's ready to harvest. And this one looks like it's almost to that point. I've got several fruits that are smaller because they haven't been fully pollinated. Honestly, this plant, it's done a great job. Hasn't set as much fruit as I wanted because it was plagued by squash bugs. I've been fighting with it. I'm going to show you around the front what's been going on. I've been fighting squash bugs and spider mites and also probably some type of vine borer. But unfortunately, this plant is probably on its way out eventually soon. I'm probably going to rip it out once these guys get ready. I have noticed it has set a couple more fruits on it, but I'm probably just going to directly sow something else in here. Yeah, this is where it's been. Mostly male flowers. This fruit set on it the day before yesterday, so it's got one. Oh, we've got another one here. Super exciting. So I might leave it a little bit longer, maybe, I don't know, to the end of this month, and then I'm just going to rip this out and plant something else. And then here's some butternut squash. This is that bush variety that I'm never going to plant again. But yeah, I'm going to have to do some TLC to this whole thing over here and figure something out. But yes, there's several fruit on here. They are smaller than I had imagined, and I think it's probably just because of the space that is available. It's not like a huge space. I've never planted winter squash before, so this is a learning experience for me. And I planted like maybe 6 or 7 plants literally in here that I started from seed. And on this side where the spaghetti squash are, this was like probably 12 plants. Y'all can see there are a lot of plants here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that's probably way too much that I planted in this area, especially for a vining plant. So I probably would have gotten way more fruit if I had planted less and spaced them out further in these raised containers. But there are several fruits that are setting, and actually there's apparently more, which I'm happy about. But I'll rip these out probably around the same time, maybe a little longer than the spaghetti squash. But there's a little small guy down there, and there's a lot of small ones because they haven't been fully pollinated because it's been so rainy out that the bees cannot fully pollinate these plants. So here's another beautiful zinnia. This one is hot pink, like those other ones will be. Here's some more fruit setting on here. Yeah, wow, that one's really funny looking. Here's my rosemary. I probably need to repot it or probably just put it directly in the ground. I haven't figured out where I'm gonna put it. We'll go on to the watermelons. Here I'm probably gonna put some eggplants or peppers on both sides of these arbors. So here are my trellises for my watermelons and my Silverline melons. And they're just made out of shelving units. And I directly sewed these straight into this tire, probably about 3 weeks now, and you can see they're doing really good. These are those heirloom Silverline melons, and look, oh my goodness, it's got a little fruit on it. super cool. So these will just crawl up here and crawl down this trellis. And here's these sugar baby watermelons. Here's a fruit set on it. It is just super weird shaped because it's been crazy. This fruit set a couple days ago. So this has been dealing with sporadic weather, and this is what fruit looks like when dealing with sporadic weather. And I have some really nice fruits on them already. You literally just use plastic grocery bags to give these support as like a hammock, and they're growing in there. Now I have noticed this plant has been suffering some fungal thing since it's been raining the past 3 days nonstop. Up to this point, it hadn't had any issues. You can see here, and all the flowers have been dying back, but I'm super happy because it looks like there are several flowers that are actually opened and set on this plant now. So hopefully if it stops raining here, I'll be able to spray it with neem oil and put some diatomaceous earth on it, and it will make a bounce back. So on each side of this trellis, I think there's 2 watermelons. They're a bush variety, they're sugar babies, planted on each side of this. And here's another good sized one. These should be ready, not quite yet, but soon. I'm not sure about these garbage bags. I'm not sure if I like them or not, but I might make some other type of sling out of some material. Here's some more of those Silverline Aerial melons. They're doing spectacular. This one actually is starting to climb already. I'm just trying to train it to go this way up this trellis. And there's no fruit set on this one yet, just a bunch of male flowers. So now I'm gonna go take you over to where Chevy's grave is, kind of where I have all my flowers planted. And it's doing wonderful, it's looking beautiful. All these cosmos, they're these really tall cosmos, the yellow and orange, that I literally directly sewed in here. It looks like we've got a head that kind of is cracked. That's okay, just from all the rain. But these are yellow and orange cosmos, and they're doing great. And here's a zinnia. This literally was setting last night. And then these are some wild flowers, perennials that I sewed in here. So I'm not sure what they're gonna look like, but they take longer to get established just because they're perennials. But it's doing super beautiful. And yes, I do still miss Chevy every single day, and Toby still calls for him, but it's getting a little bit easier. This is kind of my little garden space that I have going on right now. I definitely plan to expand this whole area into a garden. I'm gonna do a bunch of raised beds, and y'all saw from previous video, I've been planning that project for a while now. I've got a bunch of wood and metal and stuff like that I'm gonna use, but that's my plan. So that's pretty much the full tour of the garden as it is right now. It's not a huge garden, it's a smaller garden. I started it to become more self-sufficient, you know, in March because of everything that's been going on. I have had really small gardens in the past that my goal is to expand it, get really big, and just have garden going pretty much all the time. I have been planning for my fall garden already, for a late summer fall garden. I'm just be planting kale, spinach, broccoli, carrots, some root vegetables, beets, maybe some bunching onions, stuff like that, and succession planting for like beans, maybe some summer squash, more cucumbers, some more tomatoes. I don't know if they're gonna actually set fruit. I'm gonna get a harvest from those, but we'll see. In the state, I think a lot of people can get a second succession crop of tomatoes, as long as they're like early tomatoes or short season tomatoes. So the crems are about 70 to 80 days maturation, unlike the beefsteak. Looks like the last video clip that I tried to record got deleted, but thanks y'all for joining me this morning in my garden. It is a small garden, but I plan to expand it, have tons of raised beds. Y'all probably seen the materials that I'm gonna use, and just being more self-sufficient. If you like this, give it a thumbs up. Thanks for subscribing. Hit the notification bell to see my next video. Till next time, y'all. Be blessed.